This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sand. So I had a hyena here, and it's just started walking away, so I'm definitely spending a bit of time here this morning. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari. Behind the camera, we have Paul, and we are very excited. There's a cub. We are very, very excited to have a look at what is happening after a bit of a break from Djuma for the last while. So it seems that the clan is definitely on the move this morning and actually moving away from the den site. So my idea for this morning was to come around and see what we can find. But I'd love to hear from you this morning. So please, if you have any questions or comments, I've really missed hearing from you. So you can find us at #WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on YouTube. And if you're under the age of 18, pop us an email on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. You can also register on the Wild Earth website, head over to the live safari page and submit your questions right there. And we will be waiting to hear from you. You can hear there's a lot of activity this morning, even just with the birds, that it is a beautiful morning. It's already quite warm. It's about 21 degrees Celsius. And I'm very interested to see what has changed in the last little while that I have not been here. I can definitely tell you from the get-go, there's a lot more green and lush and thick. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out this morning. I'm going to spend as much time as I can around this area and see if I can maybe see Ribbon and her little babies, while we have a look at what the weather is doing in our different locations this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome here on WildEarth Morning Drive. Such a beautiful morning today. As you can see, morning glory is such a beautiful flower. From myself, Rex and Timani, I'll be with you today presenting for morning drive, and behind the camera we having Daryl. It's such a morning and amazing sunrise this morning. It will be a little bit hot for a morning, and I believe a lot more predators will be active for a morning. As you can see, that flower there, it's called Morning Glory. And morning thank you so much, and welcome everyone in the morning safari. I hope today it will be a lovely morning drive, and I'm looking forward for everyone to really participate with many questions and everything. I'm looking forward. I'm very excited what I'm going to find for you in the morning. I've started here on Morning Glory. That shows I'm more excited giving flower in the morning. It shows that I'm very excited joining by you guys in the morning. Looking forward to hunt around in the area. Lions in particular. We're in the western boundary of our reserve, the area where almost lions and leopard might cross into our area. Without checking this area, we cannot know what's in our area. We cannot predict. I'm very excited in the morning, and I'm looking forward. Thank you, JP. Good morning, and yet, of course, and also welcome you in the morning drive. I'm looking forward. As I said, I'm very excited for
Good morning and welcome to Eco Trading Pridlands. At the moment we're in a little rocky outcrop looking at elephants coming past us. A nice big breeding herd, and it's actually been followed by a very big bull. Unfortunately, the animals are now moving into thicker vegetation where we unfortunately will not be able to follow, but we're going to try and keep with them as long as possible. So in the meanwhile, my name is Jean-Pierre Leroux, and behind the camera we've got Owen. And Morgan just asked if I can say goodbye, as we didn't have opportunity to get out on show last night. So our plans for this morning is to go and get in and out of a vehicle, look at a number of smaller interesting things, as well as later in the morning go to some of the dams as it starts heating up. And that's most likely where we're going to find our big herds of buffalo again and groups of elephant coming in for a drink and hopefully a swim. Once again, if there's any viewers that has any specific questions that they would like to ask us, they're also more than welcome. As we always say, we love questions on bushwalk and eco training islands, as that we can then add a few more little segments in and cater to that specific interest that you have. Yes, it's definitely always great to start with elephants, especially if you're out on a drive. But sometimes they're quite naughty. They come into camp and then they pull up pipes and also break water pipes in search of fresh water, especially so in the winter. That's the only time that it's not great to start with them. A few years ago, we had one that came into a camp and actually pulled up pipes and then tried to throw the water pipe at us as we were trying to chase him away while he was trying to drink. Well, we eventually just gave up and let him finish all the water that he could, and then he moved on. I just love elephants. They're incredibly smart animals, and it's amazing how they always find solutions to any form of challenge that comes their way. I can just sit and watch him for hours. It's probably one of the most entertaining of all animals for me as well, as they're always doing something. So while we're watching our elephants disappearing into the distance, let's go and see what Tessa and the hyenas are up to.
So I am feeling incredibly excited. I decided that this morning would be a morning of discoveries to see what's changed, and I have been waiting patiently to meet Ribbon's cubs, and very pleasantly surprised when I came around the corner to find one of them suckling, looking very, very relaxed in the den site entrance. Absolutely incredible to see this. It's one of the very special parts of the job. Part of life in the bush is being able to see young animals grow up and go through all their different phases of learning and growing. but this for me is the best way I could have started my morning. My first thought is I'm already surprised by how much the cubs have grown. It is obviously my first time meeting this little one, but having followed it even from home while I was away, absolutely incredible to see how much they've grown, and actually to see it in person is just so special. Ribbon is looking nice and relaxed, and I'm very pleasantly surprised as well to see that she is healing quite nicely. You can tell that it's one of those stunning mornings. Mark, good morning. I'm sure Ribbon is saying hello to you too. I'm sure she's very happy that you can see her. I think if she could be, she would be. She looks very relaxed anyway, Mark, so I hope that you're enjoying. I'd love to. Actually, I think I'm one of those people, I might be able to spend the whole day here just to see who comes and goes. I'm very impressed that there already has been activity around here. I didn't unfortunately see who the adult hyena was this morning. As I was coming down towards the den site, an adult and a cub were running off. And it was so fast that I didn't get to identify which hyenas they were. But it would be very interesting to see the dynamics. Doesn't look like the hyenas are too phased about it at this particular point, but you can imagine with everything that's happening at the moment in the Djuma clan, you know, there might be a lot of things we don't get to see necessarily. So as much as it looks like a very peaceful morning, we don't actually know what might have happened in the night or earlier this morning. Oh, that little cub is adorable. Just a little flicking of the ear every now and then. You can see it's positioned itself very nicely, lying against Ribbon's tummy with one paw up over the belly. Almost looking like it's getting so relaxed it wants to fall asleep while it is suckling. What an incredible sighting to have as my first sighting of babies back at Djuma.
I've always dreamed of Africa since I was a little girl. And then I just decided, you know what? It's time to come. It's time to just live the dream.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
It is so exciting. You're able to see the difference of what you see on TV to how much work it actually is creating what you see on TV. The leopards, mareeps. How could you not really fall in love with that cat? He's got such a personality, and you never know what he's going to do.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
It's about just being together and seeing and enjoying the animals and the great outdoors. It's just been a great experience. Certainly, if anyone's able to, dare to dream and come.
For those of you who love to join us on safari here on WildEarth, we have some news.
This is incredibly exciting.
The team have trawled through the archives and found the very best of Safari Live from over the years.
Come and disperse the...
With locations such as the Masai Mara in Kenya,
You can see how close he is from where I am.
Tswalu in the Kalahari,
It is absolutely incredible.
and of course Pinda and Ngala right here on our doorstep.
Listen.
We have hours of great entertainment that is now playing on our channel. catch up with guides from the past, and of course your favorite animal characters.
It's happening. I've never seen this before.
The best of Safari Live will be broadcast on WildEarth channel daily, so jump on board and join us down memory lane. Times for this brand new series are on our website.
Oh, what are you doing? Are you trying out for the ballet? Now it's an itchy bottom. Up we get. Mom's coming. Everybody's moving off.
Thank you guys, welcome back to us. Join us while we're driving to the east looking for the lion tracks. Sorry, I only had Taryn. I didn't get the question. You can repeat again for us. Buffalo frog. Taran, if I can able to track a buffalo frog. James buffalo frog. Taran, if it's just after rain and the ground is very soft, yes, but at the moment it's difficult. As you can see, the ground is more compact. You cannot able to read everything. Yes, I can. Thank you, Athol. You make me very excited as you ask that question. Leopard Cubs, which I would like to do that for Kalamba while I'm with you here. Leopard Cubs is my favorite. Thank you. While we're moving to the east, looking for lion tracks, I believe Tessa, she's still with the hyena. Very exciting morning. We'll continue head east looking for lion tracks or lion itself. We had them audio coming from the north.
Good luck with your search for lion tracks, Rexon. I am very happy to see this little one done feeding and starting to play. Very curious to little movements and noises, but mostly curious about a stick. Back up to the den. Look at that face. It's just unbelievable. So this learning phase is probably one of the most important, I can hear elephants, one of the most important phases in any young animal's life, but particularly mammals. It's a lot more obvious to us in the learning phase, what they're doing and what they're picking up. Cute. But a little one like this, there's the other one's head at the back. Yay! Now I've seen both. So this age, you can see looking up to watch, putting the nose down to smell, listening. Trying to poke their head through. And most importantly for a hyena, it involves a lot of chewing. Hopefully not mom, though. Wow. That is incredible. Just taking a second to appreciate how special it is to be able to witness something as intimate as cubs learning and suckling and growing up. Audio lover, I agree. I think Ribbon is healing absolutely beautifully. I wasn't sure what I was going to get back to when I got back, but I'm very, very happy to see that both of the cubs are well, and she is looking very relaxed and healing nicely. It is one of the hardest parts of the job, I think, just any life in the wild. We tend to get attached to characters, to individuals. We develop bonds with them because, this is so special to watch cubs grow up from such a young age and play with mom like that. And all of the trials and tribulations, you develop a bond, and it becomes very difficult when things are not the way we want them to be, when it goes the natural course and it's not what we were expecting. So I'm very, very happy to see this exact scene. This is what I wanted. 2 cubs leaning over mom, biting and playing and learning as they go. That is just adorable. See, paying a lot of attention around mom's mouth. And this is incredibly important for hyenas. They have a very specific and elaborate greeting process when they greet each other within the clan. And this all involves a little bit of contact, a lot of smell. And this all starts from a young age. This one is very interested in sticks. So much strength already in such a small body. Bit off more than it could chew. Oh, and now the other one is on mom's ear. This is just, it's just too incredible for words. Forest monarch, I agree. This is so precious. I actually just want to sit and take it in for a while because it's not every day you get to do this. It's not every day you get to see this, especially with both of them so active at the moment. You can really see that size difference between the 2 cubs as well. The bite force of a hyena is incredible, and that starts from this young age. They start learning the limitations, which there really aren't many for a hyena, of the teeth and the mouth and the strength of that jaw. And you can imagine the lifestyle of a hyena. You're chewing through a lot of very large bones. And so for these little ones, chewing is just as important as any other form of play, if not more important. Just learning how to navigate. I'm definitely going to spend a little bit more time here just to see what these cubs get up to. And hopefully we'll see a lot more action.
Look at that. It's amazing. Wow. Hey.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Live.
Oh, that's cool. Just in there.
And the black mamba's going up the tree and the mongoose is attacking it.
She's gonna pounce again.
Sure, you can all agree with me. It's not a bad start to our Wednesday morning.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
Look at that. It's just beautiful.
Fantastic display by a little herd of springbuck.
How is this view?
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Amazing, they've locked their tusks together. You can hear the cracking branches.
It is so incredible to spend this time so close to an African penguin, and it's completely unfazed by my presence whatsoever.
How insane is that animal?
Amazing.
Awesome. It is fantastic to watch.
Well, now we've got a tug of war between mom and daughter, look.
I'm just at a loss for words. That's just incredible to see that.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We decided that we're going to get away from the vehicle a little bit and go and see what we can go and find before we move on again. And one of the trees that we found on this rocky outcrop is a beautiful large leaf rock fig. And for those of viewers who have joining us for the first time, this tree is also incredibly important for us in splitting rocks into smaller fragments and assist with the development of soil formation. And the underlying geology, combined with weather and climate and the soils which we get, is incredibly important as it influences the plant communities in that area, but also the animal species which we do find in that specific area. There's a few things that I really find very interesting about this plant is that those roots that it has can extend up to 60 meters along cliff faces. I've actually over the years even noticed where they've actually weathered and eroded large cliff faces and allowing for a few thousand kilograms of rock to actually be deposited at the bottom of that cliff face. If we have a look at it, a closer look at it, you'll see that it's got incredibly large leaves, and these incredibly large leaves is definitely very important in creating root suction, as when evaporation from a plant takes place, it also creates root suction, and it needs to get all those nutrients and minerals from 60 meters away. We also find that they assist breaking up the rocks by means of both hydraulic as well as chemical action. There's a few very interesting practical applications for this tree in the natural environment, and one of those that are used by the indigenous people in this area is actually for the use of catching little birds. Now, traditionally, you didn't get a lunchbox or a place where you can go and buy some food if you're out there busy looking after cattle, if you're on a journey, and you'll take some of this latex that's inside the leaves and you'll boil that and you then rub that onto a branch, and then you go and catch yourself a grasshopper and tie that close by onto the branch where you've actually left that sticky paste. The birds are automatically then attracted to the latex, to the grasshopper, and then get stuck onto the latex. In this case, with the figs, we actually find that the latex is not toxic. However, in most plant species, which we do find milky white latex, as generally an indication of being incredibly toxic. And some of those incredibly toxic plants that are also used as a bird trap is known as euphorbias, and they also get used specifically for poisoning fish. We go and explore a rocky outcrop and see what we can go and find. Let's go and see what Tessa and Hyena Cubs are up to.
So we are back with the antics of the two Hyena Cubs at the den, and they really seem to be fascinated by this stick. This does not surprise me at all. Hyenas are one of the only animals, especially carnivores, that is actually born with canines already out. So chewing is definitely part of every day. I think the hyenas are taking advantage of the fact that it's not too hot yet. Lee, absolutely, that is a brilliant question, and hyenas use tails a lot for communication, so it very well could affect some of her communication with the clan, because the tail displays the mood, it displays, when they're approaching another hyena, the positioning of the tail shows a lot about the interaction and the status of the hyena within the clan, and so it definitely could affect her communication. She obviously still has all of her other communication skills there. She can still vocalize. She'll have hormones and pheromones that she's releasing. She can use her ears and her posture as body language as well, but the tail is particularly important in hyenas. I don't think it's going to affect her survival at all in the long run. It might just mean that she'll have to get used to displaying in other ways compared to how she used to for the beginning part of her life. But it is very interesting, and it would be very interesting to watch as well how she communicates. She does have quite a stub there still, but obviously it's not that big feathery looking section, which is the most important part of communication, particularly for the tail. I absolutely love seeing how much each little one already has a bit more of a personality. The larger cub, definitely a lot more brave seeming than the smaller one, which is expected. A little bit more outgoing and adventurous, while the other one stays very close to mom. Definitely the less dominant of the two cubs that stays close to mom at the moment. There's one thing. Oh my goodness, that was such a cute noise. They gave each other a fright. Yes, Anna Marie, I agree. They look just like teddy bears, and very curious ones at that. You can see, really starting to grow in confidence and personality at this point. And everything is a learning opportunity, distraction. Every smell, every sound, every movement is a learning opportunity for these little ones. That is so cute. But to me, one thing I've always loved about a hyena cub is the way that they move. It almost seems like their feet are too big for their bodies to control. A little bit clumsy still at this age.
You see marches crossing into South.
But you can see already learning to use those paws in terms of feeding. So although this is just playing... Oh, it fell into Mom. Did you see that? It tripped and fall. You know, even with that chewing of the stick, practicing all of those new skills, it's already learned to hold the stick with the two paws to keep it still. And this is actually a ridiculously important trait for a hyena in particular, because they focus so much on eating bones, longer bones like the femur or the bone in the leg, ribs even. They need to be able to hold it still in order to access everything that they need inside of that bone. And you can imagine it would be very hard to chew if you couldn't maneuver the bone in some way. So that's quite an important skill for a young hyena to learn, and actually even more important that it's doing it on such a thin twig instead of a massive branch, because the thin twigs are a little bit harder to control in that sense. You've got less on it. And so this would allow this little one in later life, when it's actually eating bones and meat, to position to get all of the meat off of the bone, but then at the same time to be able to chew on the ends of the bone, where it's a little bit easier to access inside of the bone for things like the bone marrow than chewing straight through the middle, which is the hardest section. But it's absolutely fascinating, particularly, you know, if you get to spend time out here and you get to watch young predators growing up. Hyenas are one of the most unique. Gojo, the gender of the cubs is one male and one female as far as I know, and this makes sense for what I'm seeing at the moment as well. The little one closest to us looks like the male, slightly smaller. The one further back, the female. So the female is more dominant. I just find it so fascinating to see the differences between, you know, hyena cubs, for example, and lion cubs and leopard cubs. Hyenas to me are probably the most playful and adventurous, other than maybe wild dog pups. But it really is, this life is all these cubs are going to know for the next while. You know, they're going to know a den site. And they're going to know that this is the safe space to play, this is the safe space to learn, and this is where they stay until Mom decides, all right, it's time to move. And when Ribbon decides that, she'll move them to a new den site, smelling fresh so it won't have any scent build up. But for these two, you can see it's a combination of, okay, let's play, let's get some milk in between, fight over things to practice strength and dominance. And you can imagine, you know, Ribbon is looking very nice and relaxed. I think she genuinely is. She looks like she's actually sleeping. Yeah, I'm also very happy to be spending time with them. It's an unbelievable first morning back. But for Ribbon, she looks very relaxed, and that makes me happy. It means, you know, she's not worried about the fact that we're here. You can imagine she must also be quite tired. There's a lot of dynamics going on at the moment, a lot of changes in hierarchy, but at the same time, she's also producing pretty much the richest milk in the animal kingdom when it comes to carnivores. So she's got a lot going on right now. I'd also be taking a nap if I was her. Let's just watch these two playing for a while. It is honestly just so precious. definitely a game of tug of war happening at the moment, testing the strength of the body and the jaws for both of them. But I'm definitely going to watch them for a little while longer and just see what else we found out about these new personalities.
Christmas is coming, the geese are getting fat, the babies are awakening, and it's time for a fireside chat. The reindeers prepare for a global bumble. At Christmas time, they are the kings of the jungle. The chicks are all nestled and snug in their nest. Join us at the fire with a very special guest. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and join in the fun.
There is clearly something in the vicinity around you that's drawn their attention. Yes, that meerkat in the tree is just the coolest of cool meerkats. But watch how he battles when he comes down. That would be like me climbing a tree, just better.
Hello, my name is Jean-Pierre Leroux, and for most people, I'm just JP. In terms of a profession, I work as a professional tourist guide on a national level, both for nature, culture, birding, as well as adventure. I'm also qualified as a marine guide. Further, I also work as a trainer, assessor, and a moderator when it comes to training field guides. There's quite a wide range of different survival skills that I have out here. But one of the most important ones that I would like to share with you is how to deal with extreme cold to prevent that the body will shut down. It's actually very simple. You take a tea candle, you put that between your legs, and you light that, and then bring a space blanket over yourself and wrap yourself into it. It's just very important that you don't get the naked flame and the space blanket in contact with one another, and that helps you to actually heat up the body very rapidly under extremely cold conditions.
Welcome back from JP. We still continue heading east on Gari Befesuk boundary, searching for our lions. We come with the tracks of the kudu here crossing the road. It looked like it was really forced or scared by something in the area. Come from the right to the left. That means in the surrounding here there might be a lion or leopard or something in a form of danger. We're just looking there, you can see it's heavily dented. If you come across with something like this in the road where you find an antelope running across and the road is more dented like this, it means you have encountered something like a leopard or lion. So what we're going to do here, it gives me more courage that something might happening in the area. We're going to continue searching for our lions or anything that might be interesting in the area that makes the kudu running across the road with full force, as you can see on the ground. Very, very well dented. And this is a good sign. Let's carry on, guys. Continuing heading more east. We are about to reach Chitakatlan at the moment. We'll continue on Chitakatlan, whoever interested where we are, Chitakatlan, and head more south, looking for predators. only copy about kudu tracks from spiderweb. I get thank you, Granny. It will be a waterbuck or nyala. All those same family. It might be slightly confusing, but in the area where we are in a high ground and look at the tracks, the size of kudu. Back to Ivy, what animal I enjoy to track. Ivy, it will be all the predators, leopards and lion, most especially leopards. So as you can see here, after seeing the tracks, and we can see small head of impala in this area. This is not norm. Definitely we need to work the area. It might be, I'm starting to think here, it might be, of course, wild dogs might be in the area. You never know. If we continue heading more to the south, where the impala are looking, we might get to see an evidence in one of two roads. Then we might follow up. We're right at the boundary. To our left, it's Torchwood. To our right, that is the Djuma property. But that gives me more confidence that something happened here. Yeah, it might be, I'll take my mind to a wild dog, because really, if you see, if it's a leopard, they cannot separate impalas. If a leopard, the leopard will be seen and impala give alarm call. The only animal that will separate the head, the big head of impala, because in sense here, we have big heads of impala, more than 50, 100 all together as always. So this is guarantee maybe wild dogs are in the surrounding. Let's carry on, guys, looking around in the area. Join us for our search. Guys, we'll be cutting back to Tessa, still with the hyena, while we're still looking in the area.
Oh my goodness, Wrexham, I hope that you find some wild dogs. I will be so happy for you. Over here with Ribbon, we have progressed to a full-on game of rough and tumble this morning. It seems that there's just an overflowing amount of energy in these little cubs, and it's so lovely to see. Everything is a learning experience. And it seems as though the bigger cub, the female, leads the way. The male follows behind, and then one of them will get a fright and they go rushing back to Ribbon, and they almost trip over her. They hit her so hard when they get back to the den side. But it is so lovely to see so much movement, so much really chewing Mom's ear again, so much interaction. And just seeing the, how over the last little while the personalities have started growing, and there's a lot more adventure in each of these cubs. They've been chasing each other around, jumping all over Ribbon. You can imagine mom life is not the easiest. My hyenas will have a few ticks on them, but it just depends on the areas of the body. Like a lot of, especially predators in this kind of environment, things like leopards and lions do it. Leopards only, of course, when they have cubs. But they will also groom each other in a sense. They can also lick each other, and that helps to get rid of the ticks. But they'll also pick them off for themselves if they find them. But Ribbon, for example, will clean her cubs. She will lick them, get any ticks off that are on them. But if you look closely on a hyena, you usually can see quite a few ticks, especially in that soft part of the ear, because there are a lot of veins close to the surface, veins and arteries, but also around the tail area. That being said, a very, very large part of a hyena's life is greeting other hyenas using the genitals. So exposing their genitals, sniffing each other around the genitals, this would also expose quite a few ticks. So you might find the odd one getting pulled off by another hyena. I think it is very tough for us to tell, though, with most of these animals. The coat is quite thick, and so it always looks, Ribbon is looking in really good condition considering what she's been through in the last while. But her coat looks nice and smooth and full. But even though it looks like that, underneath there might be any number of parasites, even spiders and things that might be living in her fur. Seems like the cubs have decided that it is time to rest a little bit. The temperature is picking up quite quickly now. And it's that time of the morning where you get to 6:30 in the morning and you can just feel all of a sudden the temperature starts spiking. And the cubs have been incredibly busy this morning. They've hardly sat still since we got here. So I'm sure that they are starting to dip on energy. You can just see one kind of poking around at the back. We'll see what happens. Just spend a few minutes here and just see if they do come back out. Otherwise, I'll let them enjoy their snooze.
The lionesses, we had Darkman, of course, doing his best to protect them and to catch a buffalo for them for dinner. But unfortunately, as soon as the buffalo came along, he hot-tailed in the opposite direction. No, we're having a fabulous time, and it's really been magnificent so far. Thank you.
Cape Nature is the chief custodian of the Western Cape of South Africa's natural environment. This highly successful organization strives to conserve the province's natural heritage to ensure a sustainable future. Besides nurturing nature, Cape Nature offers an authentic ecotourism experience to local and international visitors. And one of these experiences is walking amongst the penguins at Stony Point, or as we know it, Penguin Beach. WildEarth broadcasts live from here every day and is very privileged to be partnered with Cape Nature, who have focused their conservation efforts here. If you want to visit these iconic black and white African penguins for yourself, then head over to our website to find out more. Cape Nature. Conserve, explore, experience.
So there we go, look. All three in one frame. Look at that, isn't that cool? Oh, that is so special. That is exactly what we had been hoping for, is all three of them to come together and make the perfect little family portrait.
back to Eco Training Pridelands. We're still exploring our little rocky outcrop, and we are actually looking at the damage that's been created by elephant, where it's actually pushed over velvet leaf corkwood. And it's just amazing where elephants can go. It's almost like if they've got permanent 4x4, allowing them on the steepest sections and the most uneven of terrain. Now, what the elephant came up here is it pushed over this comifera corkwood and then actually ate on the roots, and we can still see fragments of the roots over here. And these roots actually hold a large amount of water, and as a tree, this is actually one of those valuable survival trees which we were taught about, that we can actually go and find water, and apparently you can also cook the roots into a porridge and then eat that. The wood is also incredibly soft, and that can also be used for making fire. There's a number of other things I also find particularly fascinating about these trees. Although they are sometimes seems to be entirely destroyed by elephants, they'll start regrowing very quickly, hence the Afrikaans name, which is a Gonidians, which translates in cannot die. There's also a number of other things that this tree gets used for, and most of these coniferous species have got a large amount of aromatic resins, and we also find that in Middle Eastern countries such as Israel and Egypt, these plants were also used for making myrrh and also a number of other things, which was one of the free gifts which was given to Christ at birth. Further, we also find that this plant also has an association with a specific species of insect, which is a little beetle, but it also does feed on marula trees as well. And when those little marula beetles are ready to, the young will drop down to the ground, and then they will go and settle close by to the roots of this plant. And that is where they will go through the next part of their life cycle, where the grub will now be inside a tiny little cocoon-like structure. Those grubs then dug up by the sun hunters, and then they are placed inside a little cotton-like nest of a bird that's known as a great penduline tit, which is one of South Africa's smallest passerine species. What they will do then is put it inside a sheath of a horn and keep it protected, that they can use it at a later stage. Now, the importance of that little grub is that they actually make arrow poison from that, and they crush it. They sometimes mix it with different plants parts, as well as the toxins and poisons of a number of different plant, as well as toxic animals, insect species. And then that gets put behind the tip of an arrow, which is then used for hunting the animal. For humans, there's absolutely no antidote for that venom, but it's fairly slow working on animals. It's also important that they then, once they've shot that animal, that they then start using their tracking skills to track down that animal as quickly as possible. One of the things that I do find particularly interesting, which we do see with a large number of different indigenous hunting communities, is when they do track down the animal what they have killed, but they'll actually put their hands on it and then apologize for actually having to kill it, and then explain to the animal that the reason why they have to feed it is to feed their family. And meanwhile, let's go and see what the rest of the team is up to.
Thank you. We're now in the area, almost the last sighting of Tlalamba with the Cubs. I've taken this moment to come here and check around. A very perfect area for the Cubs, of course, also for denning. But at the moment, if you look at the ground, I don't know whether the camera will manage to get details in the middle of the stream. It's a lot of water at the moment. She might have moved the Cubs. We'll try to work in the area. We have checked, we're still continuing checking the area where possible we might get to come across with tracks or wild dogs or leopard. We have checked Chitakatla and there's no much tracks information either for wild dogs or leopard. We came in the area hoping might be tracks leading out in this beautiful scenario. You can see very rocky inside this drainage line. We just hope something that I would love to see. Leopard Cubs. I hope everyone is really want to see Columbus Cubs. I just came here. I know that she might have moved, but checking tracks is more important. Let's say hello to Anna. Anna, thank you. Yes, we appreciate that. Also, I'm very excited to find Columbus Cubs also in the area. This is the area that I know the most. I would try to put my effort looking possible in the area that might be Kalamba moving cubs into. Not going deeply into a den, but checking on the roads is very important. To follow up, tracking leopards and the cubs. If she made a kill last night, especially it was very windy, it will be a huge bonus for us because it's where we might see the cubs clearly without running away from the mother and the kill. I want to take this moment to be thank you guys. Really, we'll be cutting back to Tessa. She's moving around somewhere in the dam.
Oh, Rexon, good luck. I really, really hope you found those cubs. I can't wait to meet them. I'm so happy I've met Ribbon's cubs. One on my list ticked off. I'm definitely going to spend as much time as I can with any babies that I found in the next while. So we've actually taken a bit of a break. We heard some elephants moving around, and so we actually came to check the dam. Very close to the den site. The den site is kind of off to the back left from this dam, but you can see there's quite a beautiful bachelor herd of impalas that seems to be here in the shade. I think just taking advantage of the weather while it's still so still. You can see the reflection is perfect in the water. There's not a breeze at all. Just incredible.
Any vessels of vehicles on torchwood?
Oh, let me turn that down. This is actually quite a large bachelor herd. There's impalas here ranging from, I'd say, just on 2 years right the way through to very big males. And I think, I don't think it bothers them that they are so close to Ribbon. I'm sure they can smell the hyenas. The smell at the den is quite strong. There's a lot of hyena tracks here around the dam. There's a lot of activity, and so I'm sure the impalas have picked up on the fact that this is a very popular area for hyenas at the moment. But you can see they're looking quite relaxed. Obviously, they're going to have their normal senses about them. They're going to be listening and smelling and looking for any signs of a predator that would make them uncomfortable. But I think they know that they are quite safe, especially this time of the morning. It's just starting to heat up enough that the predators are going to be calming down and probably settling somewhere for the day. We've got some very, very hot days coming. So I'm sure the animals have anticipated that long before we have. Tracy, yes, impala herds usually have, I wouldn't call it a leader. I would say that they have a dominant male, and he is in charge of a harem. So the reason all of these impalas are together and all males is because none of them have a herd that they are dominant over. And so for them, safety in numbers comes from being together in a bachelor herd. There is a hierarchy already existing in this bachelor herd of impalas. So there will be a dominant male, and they'll fight with each other and spar with each other, especially now coming towards the new year. We're coming towards the breeding season. And so they're going to have their rut in around May. And so they will have a dominance amongst themselves, and the most dominant male who wins all of the fighting with all of the impalas will have a chance to take over from a dominant male already in charge of a harem of females. If you're looking at a normal impala herd with females and babies and then the dominant male is the one that is kind of in charge, I guess. The females don't have a very particular hierarchy or anything like that in impalas. So it's always interesting to see the differences. But pretty much all of these guys are together because they don't have anywhere else that they can be right now, and so the best place to be is together when you are the main food source for pretty much every predator out here. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'd much rather be in a group than on my own if everything was very into eating my species. I can still hear elephants in the distance. I'm wondering if they haven't gone into the drainage line. You can see just behind those males. Yes, they are one of the more alert-looking species. I think everything out here is always alert. You have to be when you live in the wild. There's always the possibility that anything could happen. But impalas always do look very alert, and I think it's a great combination for them because of the safety in numbers. There'll always be one or two like that male that's looking up, looking around, definitely just making sure, so kind of turning the head to scan with the eyes, but also scanning with the nose, scanning with the ears. Any movement, any sounds, any smells that he's not happy with, he will alarm call, and the other impalas will know. But it is sometimes easier to pick up with animals like impalas when they are looking so alert. With things like, even zebras, it's a bit more difficult because, yes, they might look up and look in a specific direction, but they're a lot less focused on it than we would think. So more of the zebra is actually more scent and just listening while their head is down, as opposed to the impala, whose head is normally up when they're alert. And you compare that to something like an elephant, which I'm hoping to find just now. You can't really tell when an elephant is more alert unless it is showing aggression or extreme interest. But elephants are always alert. They're always listening. They're always smelling. They're always seeing. They're taking everything in. It's just so much harder to see because of their size and the way that their behavior and their body language changes and is different to other animals. I think what I'll do, I'm actually going to go and check that drainage line behind the dam and just see if I can find any of those elephants. I'll leave these impalas around the shady section here for the day.
Hello everyone, my name is JP. I'm one of your WildEarth eco-training bushwalk guides. So for many years you've been watching WildEarth directly from your laptop or computer. However, now you can watch it directly from your connected TV, your Apple TV, or from your Roku box. And if you are like me, always busy, you can now download the WildEarth app and view it directly from your mobile phone.
Wildlife trafficking remains a growing problem in South Africa, and often made worse by the way the media portray this complex issue. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, have recently embarked on a program whereby they train reporters to better tell stories of wildlife trafficking.
In my community, wildlife conservation is mostly something other people do, and I would like to change that. My name is Iman Singli. I told people I met that the pangolin is one of the most trafficked animals on the planet. But what is a pangolin, they said? Why is it in danger? This is what made me decide that the pangolin story must be told. If we are to play a part in preventing the extinction of this animal, then we must all be part of the battle.
A partnership between WWF South Africa and WESA, supported by USAID.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially Hyena and Cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Thank you guys, welcome back to us. We are now on Central Road, heading east. Just realized a lot of tracks over the hyena going opposite direction. We'll never know. Take it easy and head east. We're still looking for tracks. Yeah, please stay with us. We're still moving to the eastern direction, hoping for good luck. Let's go back to Ted or Pat. Look like Ted, if I understand correctly. How long I've been working at Djuma? A very good question. Is number of years plus minus. I have over 30 years experience working as a guide. I've started Djuma in 2001. I have a break for 3 years and come back. Since 2001 up to 2021, minus 3 years while I was with Djuma. Thank you. Let's go back to Michael. Michael, you make me very excited to go back to the history of Djuma. Michael, in Djuma we used to have 3 spots. A male dominant leopard that used to be in the area by that time in 2001. 3 spots. And I've seen, because leopard dynamics in the Sabi Sand, it changes quite often. I've seen Yambiri Jordan, I've seen Mafufunyan, I've seen Shivati, I've seen lots of leopards over many years in the area. And remember, those are the males. We know, all of us, the notorious female here, safari female, big hen female, safari mother of Kurula, and big hen mother of Nkanyeni. So all those leopards, they were Djuma leopards. Nkanyeni is still alive. She's more to the east. And we know that Corolla offspring that are still around here, Chandi, Hosana, motivation. That is my collective of all leopards in Djuma, here in Science Michael. So it comes from history. Yes, we'll be cutting back to Tessa. As we're cutting back, we have leopard tracks here that leading to the west.
So I've done a little stop past Ribbon's den site again, and we are back to full-time playing and adventuring at the moment. Ribbon has not moved. She's very comfortable, but the little ones are definitely getting adventurous again. So it's quite interesting. I've been watching for the last few minutes and just noticing that doing hurdles over Mum, as young as these cubs are, they are both already displaying scent marking and the scent marking techniques, and that blows my mind that they are so young and already have that instinct to mark the territory and leave the scent behind. Oh, now she's moved her head behind the branch. So it's very interesting. There seems to be one particular... Oh, hello, curious one. There seems to be one particular little shrub that both of them are scent marking on, and what they do is the typical thing that a hyena will do. It rubs its chin over to get the scent and then rubs straight over towards the back legs and does a bit of a backwards and forwards rocking motion through the back legs to get the scent of the genitals onto the little plant. But I've never seen cubs so young doing that. And I mean, that's also partly because I haven't experienced a lot of hyena dens in my career. I've mostly experienced wild dog dens and lion and leopard dens. So for me, it's very special to see these little personalities developing so well, and the differences between these little curious bodies and the other predators. But definitely noticing the movements. You can see it keeps coming forward and kind of looking at us, saying hello, figuring out what we want, what we are. Wow, early in the morning. Kind of sizing us up like that. But you can also see it's not uncomfortable. It's just gathering information. Almost at that age now where they're going to start vocalizing and practicing the different noises they can make. They can make a lot of different vocalizations. Very energetic this morning. Oh, tumbling down the hill. I don't know if you can hear that over all of the birds, of course, but when they're running, they're already quite loud with their paws. Absolutely incredible. So you can imagine there might have been quite a bit of traffic through here during the night. Other hyenas from the clan. So all of those scents are very important for them to pick up. And so when they're not chewing like this one is, they're sniffing everything that they can. There you can see it sniffing. Picking up on all of these important life lessons already. And actually their coats are just starting to change. So you can see on the head it's gotten quite a lot lighter, especially around the ears and the face. The body is still very, very fluffy, very dense, short coat in that dark chocolate brown to black color. But you can already see a little bit of change around the face, which is quite fascinating. The other cub is not quite so sure, still evaluating whether it should come down. And Ribbon is relaxed as ever in the background, so she's not even moving at this point. There you can see those little lighter patches, especially now that you can see a bit of the sun on the side of the face. You can see some of those lighter patches coming through. This one has decided to play tug of war with a very thick branch. Not quite strong enough to break it off yet, and a little bit scary when it bounces back. So, this is definitely one of the more entertaining things, I think, for me to be doing with my morning. But while I watch them exploring and learning, I'm going to send you over to JP, who's doing a whole lot of exploring on his own.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. While it's still nice and cool this morning, we're making use of taking a short little walk and exploring a rocky outcrop. We now left our rocky outcrop and went to another area. And some of the beautiful flowers that we did find is these ruby Gonidians. And these brightly colored flowers are often pollinated by both bees as well as a number of different monkey beetle species, which I've seen actually feeding on them. And then the small little purple flowers that we have over here, these known as African wild violets. We also found an interesting little grass that we wanted to share with you as well. And the grass that we did find is known as speargrass, and I'm going to show that to you in a moment. I'm going to try and move a little bit closer, and there's a little speargrass. If you actually pull the different seeds out, you'll actually notice that they form long spear-like segments. What I do find particularly fascinating about these grass seeds is that they have evolved to actually disperse themselves by means of animals, unlike many other species of grass seeds which will be dispersed by either means of wind or by means of water that moves. And what they do is they often will drill into the side of the animal's skin and get stuck there and then fall off. And once they dry, they also have the ability of drilling themselves into the soil. This one is not dry yet, but generally when you do take them like this and you wet them with some saliva, you'll notice when they're entirely dry that they will start actually rotating around in a circle. But this one, yeah, not going to do it for quite a while, as the individual horns need to be actually very dry. Another species which also does this is a tassel-free horngrass, which we find out here. And between Owen and myself, we actually just been discussing should we be wearing gaiters or not. And in the next few weeks, yes, it's definitely advisable to start wearing gaiters. And they're not there to protect you against snake bite or anything, but they're actually there to protect your socks, as we find that both these and the tassel-free horns go and get stuck into your socks. And when you start sweating, they bore into your skin, and that creates quite an irritation. We find precisely the same when it comes to livestock like sheep. This will also often get stuck into the wool and diminish the value and the quality of the wool. But we also will notice that it will also sometimes bore into the animal, and then it will diminish the value of the meat of that animal as well. Sorry, there's a question that came through from Tom. I was just busy focused on my chain of thoughts there. Sorry, Tom, I didn't get your message. I'm just going to ask Final Control to repeat that question for me, please. Good morning, Tom, and welcome to the show. To answer your question, if most plants are invasive or not, there are actually very few invasive plant species over here, as it is a conservation area. The majority is all indigenous plant species, which we do find in the area. But in any area, it doesn't matter where you go, some alien invasive plant species have become so common that it's actually established itself in the natural environment. Some of those plants are also not very great for the environment, as that they outcompete our indigenous plants species. Some invasive plant species is also not great to have them in rivers, as if they take up a large amount of water. And we also find that some of the invasive plant species which we do find in the low-veld region creates shade, especially on traditional nesting sites of crocodiles. And that has actually led to a regular number of female crocodiles being born compared to male crocodiles, because the cooler temperatures then lead to the development of females, while warmer temperatures would have normally led to more male crocodile egg development. We're going to move on and go and see what else we can go and find.
Nothing beats sitting around a campfire at night whilst on safari, listening to the calls of the wild and chatting to your guide. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, then you can enjoy this from the comfort of your home. Imagine hearing bush stories from your favorite WildEarth guide and reliving their highs and lows of a life spent in the wild. Every month, WildEarth explorers will be treated to an exclusive fireside chat, special occasions, hot topics, and deep dives into the WildEarth characters.
Everything else is just welling up inside of you, out in nature. You know, some people think I'm weird, but I have an absolute joy. I have a good time.
No, I enjoyed myself thoroughly today.
WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature. BirdLife South Africa, our country's only dedicated bird conservation organization. They have been very successful in a number of areas, including the conservation of more than 150,000 hectares of grasslands and estuary habitat, saving thousands of albatrosses in trawl and longline fishing, and training community bird guides as ambassadors for nature in rural areas. Celebrating their official 25th anniversary, they are sharing 25 of their top success stories across their social media platforms. BirdLife South Africa is currently striving towards the conservation of 132 bird species that are heading for extinction. If we conserve birds, we will protect other biodiversity and important habitats that provide clean water and clean air for humans. Their work is forever ongoing. People who love birds can become a member of BirdLife South Africa or make a donation towards a bird conservation project.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephants, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
A little bit of a bumble in Rusty for a change. It's quite unusual for me to be in Rusty instead of Wendy. Something strange in the road there. Oh no, it's just a funny shaped rock. Yeah, it's quite nice to be in Rusty. Very different. I feel quite a lot smaller. In Wendy I feel a little bit bigger. But I'm on a little bit of a bumble just to see if I can find where those elephants are. I keep hearing them and I keep seeing signs of them, but I think we're just behind as they're moving through the blocks, and I don't want to off-road for no reason at all. So I would much rather just drive around, do a bit more work, get the wind in my face. It is eating up very quickly, so the wind is fantastic. And also just explore a little bit more. It's so nice to be back. So nice to be seeing things so green and lush. Definitely taking nice slow safaris at the moment because it's so thick you don't want to miss anything. It was actually one of the first things I noticed yesterday was the woodland kingfishers. Abdul, actually, yes, elephants can get cavities. That's actually normally what causes an elephant's tusks to chip and break, is when they've had a cavity. So the tusks are basically just a modified canine or incisor, basically one of the front teeth. It comes forward, but it's the same structure as ours. It's the basic enamel on the outside and goes deeper into the root. And essentially what happens is if they are eating too many hard things or too many things that maybe are degrading on the teeth, then they will start to get cavities, and that's what causes their teeth to chip and their tusks in particular to break as that gets worn down. down. You can imagine it might be quite painful because it might expose the root, especially if it's a very short break on the tusk. A longer one shouldn't really affect the elephant much in terms of pain. But definitely could have an impact in terms of ability to fight and feed. But a short break is definitely not fun for an elephant. Would be quite painful. So I'm actually headed towards Treehouse Dam, which is slightly further west in Djuma than where we were with Ribbon. Just because I want to see if the elephants have moved up that way. It seems like they might have been going that way. Possibly because the dam is a little bit bigger, or you never know. Just moving towards the drainage lines and the thickets. We're on a bit of what's called a seep line at the moment. And that's basically where the soil holds quite a bit more water, especially just below the surface layer, and so there's a lot of silver cluster leaves, and this is a great place for elephants to be in particular because it holds more water, so the plants are more nutritious, and so they can get quite a bit more food from that. Wow, it has overgrown a lot. My favorite sound in the bush, Megan, that is a fantastic question. I think a very iconic sound is a fish eagle for me. I think another really good one is now this time of the year, there's a lot of woodland kingfishers around. But a sound that always gives me goosebumps is wild dog hooting. They make this very unusual hooting sound when they're calling each other, especially when they split up after hunting. And another one, which always kind of gets the hairs on your neck to raise a little, is any of the cats growling, because it grabs your attention straight away. I would say also, if you're looking at things like elephants, the rumble of an elephant, that very low, deep rumble, it almost feels like your body shakes with it. And a lion roaring as well is incredible. But overall favorite, definitely wild dogs hooting. I've had some very funny instances where I've been looking for wild dogs and haven't been able to find them. And actually still when I had guests, it's something that the tracker that I worked with at the time on the front seat when I was at Ngala, he always, still to this day, tells me that that was one of the funniest days of his life, when we were tracking wild dogs and just could not find them, and it was almost time to go home and we needed a bathroom break. So we stopped for a bathroom break and I let everybody else go first. And as I was pulling my pants down, the wild dog started hooting next to me. And I was running so fast that everything was falling off of my belt. I was trying to pull my pants up while I was running. It was very embarrassing. But my tracker absolutely loved it. Right, so I'm going to keep heading towards Treehouse Dam. Hopefully I find some elephants there. I really would love to see some ellies this morning. But I'm going to send you back over to Rexon, who is still looking for Tlalamba and her cubs.
We are back here. As we are driving slowly into the area, I can hear Frankeling making alarm calls about 300 meters due to the east of the previous den of Tlalamba. As you can see, the Darren showing you how thick is the area. I'm more confident this leopard, she's making its way here because the tracks is very good. Very fresh. Tracks is very steaming. It makes me excited. Otherwise, maybe she have moved the cubs a little bit more east of the area due to the water in the middle stream of this drainage line. We will be trying to be a little bit silent, not talking long. Then we may get evidence from Frankeling bushbuck on the camera, because really it makes me excited, because we just heard Frankeling, they all went mad. So I will be a little bit silent for a moment, listening for that. Thank you. Let me take back to Joey. Joey wanted to know how long a leopard can leave its cubs for meal. Joey, remember, leopard is a solitary species. It hunts its own. Sometimes it takes a while. It's not like in a pride of lions where they participate in hunting, all they work together. Once they focus on a prey species, they can help one another. It depends, Joey. It might 4 hours. If she's a very good hunter, it won't take a day. Sometimes you find a leopard, it can go 8, 12 hours. It depends how active and how healthy, physical healthy for that particular individual, a female leopard. Then, yes, if she's so fast, she'll return within 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, easy like that. I cannot predict. I've seen a leopard leave the cubs for a day and come back the next day. So it depends. What we can hear here, not much again on the francolin. We can hear different species of we only had more of other species. Hearts. The largest yes. Thank you, Darren, the back liter. I've seen in my trip in East Africa in 1998, I've seen a half-tailed leopard in Masai Mara having 3 individual cubs. And also I had a record in Sabi Sand, not for me to come across with it and witness. There was a leopard down south of us. She was having 3 individual youngster. So it's up 2 to 3, very normal for 2. 3, it's very rare, but it do happen. It do happen. It do happen. I haven't seen a leopard or herd that have 4 or 5, but normally 2 up to 3. That is more common. And sometimes while we're still on the litter of the leopard, when the leopard is still young, it can have 2, that is norm, 3, but once the leopard getting older, in case of Tlalamba might have 3 litter at the same time, not a problem. She's still young, still physical healthy. If you take an example of our old leopard, Tandy at the moment, she won't have more than 2 youngster. It will be 1. It does with age and physical healthy condition of the species itself. So it all on physical matter. So if really you find a leopard, an old leopard, sometimes she won't even conceive. She won't be pregnant. She'll be just moving around. For the next life of Tanley, I doubt she will have youngster. She's very old. If do, it will be single youngster. If it do happen, Kalamba, maybe the next litter, it will be 3 youngster. Let's hope to see that around in the area. And that is more genetically. Some of the leopards, they only have 2. Some of the leopards, it might inherit it from their mother, 3 all the time. That you cannot debate, it's nature. So it's really amazing when it comes to that.
That's my boy.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Bright colors, and it attracts the insect to the flower, which is exactly what we're watching right now. This is so exciting. There's 2. Hello, Mama. It's all good. Hi. Hi.
The smallest baby black-backed jackal I have seen in the wild. Look how full the belly is.
It is so incredible to spend this time so close to an African penguin. They just make me feel alive.
That is incredibly sweet. Grooming each other.
Play is vital. This is how they learn. This is how they would tackle prey.
There you go, there you go. There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill. There's nowhere to go.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
Live.
There she goes, going for the youngster. She got it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Look at that.
It is insanely good footage.
Drainage line on my right-hand side at the moment, and it's actually one of the ones that's fed almost south of Vuyatela Dam, so where the Djuma Dam cam is. What I'm thinking is elephants are going to be using that to go towards the dam. That's what I'm hoping for. Clean water source, nice cool drainage line, lots of fresh food. And I am not going to give up until I find an elephant this morning. When you haven't been in the bush for a while, it's funny, there are things that you really, really miss and things that you adamantly want to see again. And obviously one of the best things is any form of baby. It's just incredible to see. So, having such a long time this morning with Ribbon and her cubs is incredible. But any baby is fantastic. Even baby impalas would be great. But I always miss elephants. Always miss elephants. And the predators, but there's just something about elephants. So when you catch a whiff of them, and I could actually smell them, and you can't see them, it can be quite frustrating. I'm going through a dip now, so I really hope Rusty doesn't lose signal, but if Rusty loses signal, at least I'll be back in a second, so just bear with me if I do. Really seems to be a lot of water around. I'm just blown away by the amount of birds. You forget how many birds there are. Going back to a town or a city, a lot less birds. Jackson, that's actually quite a tough question. Elephants, they're commonly found in cooler areas because it is hot. In this particular area where we are, the low veld can get very, very hot. And obviously we're in December, so this isn't our hottest month. Our hottest month is actually only coming in February, but you can imagine if you're a very large animal with very dark, thick skin, you're going to need to cool down. So the best areas to look for elephants or to find them would be drainage lines, and especially in the heat of the day, places like waterholes, particularly areas where there is fresher water, so somewhere that has a pump or somewhere that has flowing water instead of stagnant water. Those would be the areas that you would find elephants. Because they're so big, they're not territorial. They'll move freely, so you can't predict where an elephant herd is going to be. They won't be in the same place all the time. They'll be moving constantly, and so elephant herds and bulls will be moving through Djuma all the time in different directions from different properties, going different places, depending on where there is food and water for them. So it really just depends. You know, kind of elephant to elephant at the time, it depends on the day. But in general, on a hot day, drainage lines, anywhere that's fresh water, anywhere cool with a bit of shade. And now that we're getting to marula season as well, anywhere that there's a lot of marula trees, like up on Quarantine. There's a lot of marula trees. They don't have fruits yet, but very soon they're going to be ready for the elephants to start eating all of the marula fruits. You kind of just got to almost weigh it up. Right, I want to head towards the dam. But I figured let's just do a little check on Quarantine. It seems that there is only sun up here. That's fun. Kathy, I agree. The elements of the bush are always incredible. Amazing all the time, whether it's something like a flower that pops up overnight and is so intricate when you look at it, or whether it's something as big as an elephant. Just incredible. I think something that we should never underestimate is how much is happening all the time around us, even if we don't know it. And as soon as you start seeing all of it, you start discovering more every single time. And it just becomes every day there's something new, every day there's something that blows your mind. There's no predicting it, there's no controlling it, and it's the best thing about it. It's amazing. Everything works so well together. Oh, I'd like to see some hippos too, actually. I haven't seen hippos in a while. What I'm going to do, just keep ambling towards the dam. Hopefully there might be something coming up there now that it's getting very, very hot. But, crossing my fingers, I will find those elephants.
Christmas is coming. The geese are getting fat. The babies are awakening, and it's time for a fireside chat. The reindeers prepare for a global bumble. At Christmas time, they are the kings of the jungle. The chicks are all nestled and snug in their nest. Join us at the fire with a very special guest. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and join in the fun. For those of you who love to join us on safari here on WildEarth, we have some news.
This is incredibly exciting.
The team have trawled through the archives and found the very best of Safari Live from over the years.
Come and disperse the
with locations such as the Masai Mara in Kenya.
You can see how close he is from where I am.
Swalu in the Kalahari.
It is absolutely incredible.
And of course, Pinda and Ngala right here on our doorstep.
Listen.
We have hours of great entertainment that is now playing on our channel. Catch up with guides from the past and of course your favorite animal characters.
It's happening. I've never seen this before.
The best of Safari Live will be broadcast on WildEarth channel daily, so jump on board and join us down memory lane. Times for this brand new series are on our website.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back. Yeah, we're still in the area of Tlhalamaden. Look in front of you, a very beautiful, beautiful flower. A large leaf sittlebush. A large leaf sittlebush. I like this sittlebush. If you look at, or you page the book in Afrikaans, the same book of trees, it's a nieuwejaarsboom, very descriptive in Afrikaans. Nieuwejaarsboom, it means a new year tree. Is how actually towards Christmas, New Year, this little bush gives flower. So the Afrikaans people, they call it nieuwejaarsboom. It's towards New Year and all that. It's very amazing. Also from the outside community, they really rely on the same tree. The sittlebush towards New Year, they know that they have to dress, they have to prepare lots of things for Christmas. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Beautiful. We use them as earring for weddings traditionally. While I'm sitting here, I'm still listening, I'm still very excited. I thought maybe I can see the cubs playing in rocks. We just position ourselves also, myself and Darren, to show you the drainage line, the middle stream, the water, amount of the water that's in here. That gives that space of no doubt. The leopard might move the cubs because at the moment they can go up in a tree. It could be slightly more to the east of here. So if we're not successful this afternoon, this afternoon we're going to come back almost same area, looking for the roads, looking for tracks leading out. If it do rain again, it means the leopard will move the area because it's not easy. It's not good for the cubs to play in a middle stream and give that safety from hyena and other leopard because it's full of water. Kevin, for the last, let's go back to Kevin, sorry guys. Kevin, for the last 2-3 weeks, Dalamba, she was spotted around in the area, moving with her cubs. From, if you know the area well, if you do have a map from Batalia Central Road going north, almost in the area where we are on Quarry Central Road. So it might be a kilometer or less a kilometer from where she have moved them, walking with the mother up in the area. A week ago, she was seen also not far from here, 300 meters, moving the cubs its own into the area. So they're big enough to move. What we're waiting for is to see them with the mother on the kills. Then we'll know exactly that they're over 3 months. Now we can predict because we haven't seen them with the mother on the kills. It might happen. Remember, Kevin is very thick here. If Kalamba had a kill, no one can witness. Because she's also know that she's also fear from the hyena. If she do make a kill, she'll make sure that she's hidden in a very, very thick. Thank you guys. Tessa, she's trying, looking around for an elephant. Good luck for you, Tessa. We'll be cutting back to Tessa at the moment.
Thank you, Rex, and seems I'm not the best at finding elephants today. But that's all right. I found some squirrels. They disappeared way too quickly, though. But it was nice to see them. Very nice to see them. So I'm still kind of sticking along the drainage lines. I've checked past Vuyatela Dam where the Djuma Dam cam is. There wasn't anything there. So I'm just sticking through the little tributaries that all contribute because it's the best place for elephants to be if they're not at the dam. I mean, that being said, because they can move anywhere, they might not even be on the property anymore. But that's all right. It's still worth a try. You never know what you'll find along the way. I'm definitely enjoying driving Rusty while I dust off my guiding skills. Certainly giving me a good leg workout. You can actually see there's still quite a lot of water here, and this is because we're in a seepline, so the water is really kind of starting to flow down the roads because it's literally seeping from the soil, just kind of almost that far below the surface and lower. It's kind of sitting and it seeps down the slope and then it hits the road and the road funnels it down. So this is really a good area for elephants to be with all that moisture. You can imagine it helps them a lot throughout the hot days if they have enough moisture in the diet. But it's so thick, I feel like anything more than snail pace and I'm missing things. Not too far from where Rexon is at the moment. Rexon is somewhere off to my right. Olivia, no, I wouldn't say that there's a season where we don't see elephants at all. It depends. In some areas, so it's regionally dependent in a way. In some areas you see a lot less of elephants in the summer because there's water everywhere, so they don't have to move as far to find water. In some areas you see a little bit more of elephants in the summer because there's more marilla fruits and so they're attracted. So I wouldn't say there's a season that we don't see elephants at all because they're so big and they've got to eat so much. They really do just have to move very, very far, and so you've got a chance of seeing them all the time. Sorry, I just want to check in that tree. And Paul, do you think you'll get that leopard orchid with the yellow flowers? We're going to give it a bash and see. We're gonna give it a bash. So right up in that tree, it's probably one of my favorite things to see, because they are so special, is a leopard orchid. It looks like that mass in the middle of the branch there, and have a look at those beautiful yellow flowers. Unreal, with a roller that's just flown out the back. But this is definitely one of my favorite plants I will ever see in the bush. Not just because it's called a leopard orchid and I love leopards, but also because they're so limited in when they flower. They flower usually in December, but once it's flowered for probably about a week or so, the plant will not flower again until next year, December. And that's, to me, is mind-blowing, that they can kind of, you know, have such a limited time when they have flowers. And those flowers are such a beautiful, vibrant yellow. You can imagine it attracts a lot of insects. But this is quite a special plant, because you'll only really see leopard orchids right up at the tops of trees like that. It's one of the few species of orchid that you'll find up in trees, and it's what we call an aerophyte. So if you have a look at the top, you can see a lot of the leaves sticking out, but at the bottom it looks like a lot of dry twigs. And those dry twigs are actually not twigs at all, they're the roots of this leopard orchid. And it uses those roots straight out into the air to absorb the water and minerals that it needs directly from the air itself, not actually from the tree that it's on. So although it looks like it would be living off of that tree that it's on, it actually doesn't damage the host at all, which is that dead branch that it's currently on. It's quite an incredible plant. I've been very lucky. I've seen a leopard cub in a leopard orchid before. But definitely one of my favorite plants. This is actually in some cultures believed to be a love potion. You can use this plant as a love potion. It is actually not called a leopard orchid because leopards might eat it. It's called a leopard orchid for two reasons. One, it's up in the tree, which leopards often are. But two, if you have a look at those yellow flowers, I don't think we're able to get a close enough view, but if I do find another one, I'll hopefully be able to show you. The yellow flowers have these beautiful brown spots on them, so it reminds you of a leopard's coat, and it's up in the tree, so it just is aptly named after a leopard's lifestyle and appearance rather than diet. Leopards, I don't think I've ever seen one eat a leopard orchid. I've seen a cub playing with it though. Very interesting. I can hear a lot of rollers around us, so this is definitely a good area for the birds, and they do enjoy plants like these aerophyte leopard orchids that are up in the trees. Beautiful. Right, time to keep going. So apparently the roots of a leopard orchid like that, so those kind of dry bits sticking out, if you dry them, you put them under your tongue, everything you say is sweet. That's why it's a love potion. Hannah, to answer your question, it took a lot of practice to remember names and facts and things like that, especially with something like plants, because it's not like an animal where you see it, you remember it straight away. You can teach yourself the scientific names and the facts. Plants are a lot more difficult because they're more difficult to distinguish, but at the same time they've got a lot more complicated scientific names than something like a leopard, which is the Panthera genus because it's a cat, a big cat, and Pardus because it's a leopard. You're looking at trees that have very, very complex scientific names. So it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of reminding myself, that's for sure. But I think for me, the easiest is if I find something interesting, I usually remember it quite easily. So because I love leopard orchids, I will always remember what a leopard orchid looks like. So it comes with practice, it comes with learning about everything, and then finding ways to help yourself remember, especially the plants. For me, I'm very lucky. The degrees that I studied, I had to do botany, which is the study of plants, and I had to do zoology, which is the study of animals, and I did entomology, which is the study of insects. So I specialized in African animals with a spine, African vertebrate biodiversity, but throughout all of that I had to get used to scientific names, I had to get used to facts, I had to get used to knowing a lot of those things and having to apply it and mix and match it as well at the same time, which is very, very interesting, all part of ecology. I'm really hoping Rusty's brakes don't give up on me now. Yeah, I think botany for me, honestly, one of my biggest struggles. Insects and birds and animals I've always been very, very good with. But I can honestly tell you that plants was my biggest struggle when I was studying, trying to remember all the different plants, the scientific names, especially trees and things. You only really get used to them after quite a lot of time spent doing it. And you start picking up, you know what this is, you know what that is. Right up at the north of Djuma at the moment on the cut line. I'm hoping that I will find something here for you, but we will see how it goes. Wish me luck. Fingers crossed.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
The little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
My name is David, and I love being a cam op because you get a front row seat to all the best sightings that WildEarth has to offer. Sharing it with everyone else, well, that's a perk too. What makes the WildEarth experience magical? Well, it has to be the fact that it's live and interactive. The sighting that'll be ingrained in my brain for life, watching a lioness kill 3 wildebeest during the migration in the space of about 20 minutes. My spirit animal, that has to be a monkey.
Welcome back. We are now on Mamba Road heading west. As you can see, the straight road here. We have Cheetah Catline to the south. Nothing much. Also, the lions look like they haven't crossed our boundary. They're still on the other side of Buffers Hook. Maybe for afternoon. While we're looking around in the area, anything that might comes out interesting, we'll be able to follow up. I know that Tessa, she's looking for elephant. See, there's an elephant that crossed here. I don't know whether you can see the Darren. They're moving into the the northern direction. Look like less than half an hour ago, they might be heading towards Battalier Road, Central Battalier Road. I'm sure Tessa will be heading on that position after my segment and try to check if she might locate this elephant. So there might be lots more game in the area. The only thing is very thick to see. Less than 100 meters, the bush is full packed, you can't see much. We might drive close to Kalamba due to the thicket. We might not able to see. Stop us, getting to see better what might be into the bush. We're gonna carry on moving towards Mulawati direction as we're heading west. I'm looking for, still a leopard. It could be Marez, it could be Kalamba, it could be anyone that might be in the area. Thank you, James. Salala, young male. I heard about Salala, young male. I've seen Salala twice, right at the boundary of Nkoro, Gary, Maine. More active to the southeastern corner of the sands. So I haven't seen her since from then. But I believe, as I've said earlier on, the leopard dynamics in Sabi Sands is always changing. You'll never know who's going to settle in the area of Djuma. It might be Talala male, it might be Timbawati males, it could be Tabangume, my favorite leopard. You'll never know. It's quite a lot of competition at the moment with all these young males at the present moment. We have seen more than 3. Some of them we misidentify them, we don't know where they come from. So they're moving in and out in the area and they're competing amongst themselves. So we just cross finger. But myself, I would love to see Tabangume settle in the area. Very beautiful cat and very healthy looking species. Genetically it's very big. It will be a very good offspring that comes out from him, more especially with Kara, Kalamba and more etc. leopards in the area. Annabelle, thank you for your question, but I just missed that. I didn't completely get. You were asking about do a leopard compete like a hyena, perhaps for a dominance, if I get it right. Yes, indeed, they do compete. The reason why behind that, leopard is solitary species and very territorial. They compete with the space, they compete over females. So all these young males here, one day they have to box. The stronger one has to take over from female in the area of operation. They do compete a lot. But we have learned over many years, most especially in Sabi Sand's Djuma area or in Tower Sabi Sands, our leopard territory is starting to be getting smaller and smaller. And of course, less competition in the area. But in nature, they're competing. We are looking here, a beautiful roller, European roller. The name of it represents both of them. They all migrate into Europe and come back here at the same time. Seeing this roller, it tells you that summer is right here. You won't find them in winter in the area. They migrate out to Europe. They come at the same time with bee eaters, white-fronted bee-eater, common bee-eater. They come all the way down from Europe into Africa. So this species is such amazing. How to navigate the area and get exactly the same spot of last year. If they really nest, they'll come back into the same nest. It's a really amazing species. Yes, let's go back to Kelly. Yes, Kelly, I might be lucky also driving past here and see them. I haven't seen them since they've been arrived in the area. I saw white-fronted bee-eater yesterday with Eric, but from the distance. So which means they start to arrive maybe for last week or maybe, I never know, 2 days back, or they arrived this morning. That I cannot tell. And we have few types of roller in the area. If you look at Nick, it does have multiple colors. The only thing, right in the shadow, I will calculate if I can see from the camera, but you can have blue, gray, and more colors that might be. On this one, it might be 3 to 4 different colors. The lilac-breasted roller, it's more obvious. You see it does have multiple colors, beautiful. That's the reason in Afrikaans they call it the wedding ring, a tropand in Afrikaans, which has multiple colors. It's a gift actually to the colors that they have. Such amazing colors. All of them, the family of rollers, brought a big roller and all racket tail. They're such a beautiful. They have more colors. They have blue colors and all like different sorts of colors that you can mention and love it. Taking picture and look at the picture in daily basis. You'll never ever get bored if they're in a right light. If you do have a best camera to take. Thank you. From the roller, we will cut back to Tessa. She's still looking for an elephant in the area. I hope good luck for you, Tessa.
Thank you, Rexon. I am approaching the drainage line very close to Bateleur Road now. I was actually almost already on my way here, wanting to check Nyala Road when Rexon told me about the elephants that might be headed towards Bateleur Road. So I'm definitely wanting to stick close to the drainage line and keep looking. Yeah, I can see Rexon's vehicle tracks going that way. So I definitely want to check here around the drainage line. So it's actually starting to become a bit overcast. The weather seems to be turning a little bit. I know with our forecast morning, we are expecting some rain possibly this afternoon and definitely tonight. But it seems like it's coming a little bit sooner than expected. And this actually works in our favor, because it's not nearly as hot as it was earlier, so the animals are going to be more active, especially things like elephants and even like Ribbon's cubs. but at the same time the animals can feel the pressure change of the rain coming, and so they'll be moving to get to areas where they want to get to before the rain hits. And so just in general, I've always preferred overcast days to sunny ones, in terms of sightings anyway. So I'm really hoping that that holds true. I did see some elephant bull tracks on the road that I came from, also coming down this way. I wonder, not maybe possibly just following the herd would make sense. This road is so thick and overgrown, it's incredible. It's so good to see. So I know Rexon was talking about the European roller just now, and how when that bird comes, you know it's summer. That and a woodland kingfisher, when that starts calling, you know the season has changed. And then all of a sudden it's just quiet again. But what I find very interesting is because the European roller is slightly bigger than the lilac-breasted roller, which is the more common one we see here. When there's a lot of European rollers around, you see a lot less of the lilac-breasted rollers, not just because you're noticing the European rollers more, but because they're bigger. They almost outcompete the lilac-breasted rollers for food and nesting sites in this area. So very interesting to see how one species' migratory movements affect others, even of the same group.
If I could take you on safari all day and all night, I would. But unfortunately, it's not always the best time to see the animals. Now, in between safaris, you can watch the WildEarth channel with loads of extra shows. If you have a connected television, Apple TV or Roku box, then download the WildEarth app, and if not, then just find it on the App Store on your phone.
Cape Nature is the chief custodian of the Western Cape of South Africa's natural environment. This highly successful organization strives to conserve the province's natural heritage to ensure a sustainable future. Besides nurturing nature, Cape Nature offers an authentic ecotourism experience to local and international visitors. And one of these experiences is walking amongst the penguins at Stony Point, or as we know it, Penguin Beach. WildEarth broadcasts live from here every day and is very privileged to be partnered with Cape Nature, who have focused their conservation efforts here. If you want to visit these iconic black and white African penguins for yourself, then head over to our website to find out more. Cape Nature. Conserve, explore, experience.
This warthog is in big trouble. He's got elephants all around. What are you going to do there, big guy? What are you going to do? Oh, he's pretty brave though. Oh man, he's not even moving. Look, that elephant is trying his best, but that warthog ain't budging. That's madness. That's so funny. And we have a winner. The warthog wins the standoff.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. Now, we've been pretty much exploring a number of rocky outcrops and a number of other areas this morning, and we've been looking at the smaller components within the ecosystem. And now we decided that we're going to make our way towards one of the larger dams and wait for some of the animals to come in. The cloud cover has started moving in, and it's slightly cooler than it was compared to yesterday this time. I think that's why the animals are a little bit on the slow to approach the waterhole to come and quench their thirst. I'm really still hoping that we're going to see some elephants this morning coming for a drink, as well as hopefully for a swim. In the meanwhile, if you would like to ask us any questions, you're more than welcome to do so. And one of the questions I was asked a little bit earlier, what is my favorite sounds in the nature? And some of those are actually African wild dog, especially the long call that they produce, which is one of their contact calls. I'm always happy to see African wild dog. But there's also a number of different bird calls that I really enjoy. One of those are the class is cuckoo, which sounds something like this. And then one of my other favorite cuckoos, that's the sound of a thick-billed cuckoo, which sounds like something like this. Ultimately, one of my favorite calls is definitely the emerald spotted wood dove, and it sounds something like this. And the reason why I really like that call is because when I was overseas, I was actually in the UK for 2 years, and then I went to Hong Kong eventually. And while I was in Hong Kong, I was actually venturing around in one of the parks. And I knew that there was a number of different aviaries, but what I didn't know is that there was a number of South African bird species and animals inside those aviaries. I heard the call of the African emerald spotted wood dove, and I started following it and got to this big aviary and the display of South African birds and animals. I couldn't help but otherwise than to start shedding a few tears as I started missing home so much. And at that moment, I decided to going straight back to South Africa and start guiding with immediate again. And I've never regretted my decision and not staying in Europe or in Hong Kong at that point. It's always fun to actually travel. It's also fun to go and actually work in other countries. And it's actually good for guides to travel and work in other countries because you actually learn about different people, their different customs, and you also start understanding what they actually have to endure to actually be able to come onto safari. Not only the distance that they have to travel in terms of flight time, but also in the conditions that they will have to work. And that's one of the things that has actually pushed me as a guide to give my personal best to each and every visitor that I've actually guided over the years. But there's many different sounds that I also enjoy, and it also changes from day to day and from season to season. We also hear little things what I really like. Good morning, Timothy, and welcome to the show. Yes, we actually did. I actually saw one coming over yesterday. Quite often when we do look at them, we confuse them with lilac-breasted rollers, which is a more common species. But when I noticed that the tail was square in shape and not long and having those narrow little tips to it, it caught my attention, and I had a look at it, and I said, well, there's our first European rollers. So yeah, hopefully one of these days we'll actually get one that's perched up somewhere, and then we can share an image of the European roller with you. I like them. They're also incredibly long-distance migrants. For those of you that are not familiar with European rollers, they sometimes cover some 10 to 12,000 kilometers in distance on their migration into southern Africa. A further 7 records, which I know about, is actually quite close by to a town called Pringle Bay, which is in the Western Cape, close by to Cape Town. And that was 2 or 3 years ago that they actually had a record over there. However, in general, European rollers are quite rare in the southern parts of South Africa. So while we wait for some animals to come in for a drink, let's go and see what Rexon is up to.
Welcome back, guys. We're now heading west of the southern boundary to Cam's west. We will try to go and check three houses furthermore to the west. Look like we haven't have good lucky in the east. We'll try to check in the area. We might come across of Ellis and other stuff. But we're now moving in the area of Shidulu and TP, Totospan, more to the west. We'll never know, we'll just take it easy looking around in the area.
Apologies, I think we're having a few tech issues there, possibly a signal issue. Whoa, it's overgrown. So I am on Battalier Road as per Rexon's recommendation. And I have seen some tracks of elephants, but I have not seen any elephants yet. I think they just seem to be avoiding me today. And that's alright. So what is amazing me already is the amount of flowers that have popped up, ground cover flowers. I don't mean like the leopard orchid in the tree or normal trees that have a lot of flowers. Just ground cover flowers that have popped up. It's just unbelievable. There's little white strings of stars everywhere and lions' eyes. Wild violets, incredible. Little bursts of colour everywhere that you go. Oh, I got an insect to the face. Yes, I did indeed have to do herpetology, study of snakes and reptiles. One of my honours theses was on a very particular species, or genus, of legless skink. I don't know if you remember, John T. last week had a sighting of a giant legless skink with a snake. So that skink is from the genus Acontius. And that's actually the same genus that I did my thesis on. So yes, herpetology was definitely included. So was ornithology, which is birds. So I've got quite an array of animals that I've had to study, and I'm so grateful for it, because I think I probably would have struggled a little bit more not having done that. It can be quite a change adapting to the bush and all of the information that you've got to remember, and can be quite a change. But once it becomes, I want to say, muscle memory, anything that you do a lot becomes muscle memory. You don't have to actively think about doing it, it just comes. That's pretty much where you want to be at. That being said, you're constantly learning new things. You're constantly going and looking for information, not just seeing new things out here, but actually still looking for new information all the time. Snakes are actually one of my favorite things, but they're quite hard to find out here. Myself and Paul were talking about them on the way in yesterday on the drive. JV, I will definitely say to you that of the animals or living creatures like that, birding was probably my least practiced skill. I absolutely love it now. Now I keep a bird list. If I hear there's an unusual bird in the area, I'll go and have a look for it. And I'm planning a few trips next year where I can go and tick off some more birds on my species list. So I'm definitely a lot more into it now than I ever was before. But yeah, that was also one of my more difficult ones. I think I'm quite lucky though, in the sense that I'm very methodical. When I do find, you know, a bird that I'm not sure, I'm very, very good at using the field guide to figure out exactly what it is. And so that was actually how I taught myself, was just visually looking and taking in as much as I could, going straight to the field guide, narrowing them down, singling it out, and then studying it to make sure that I didn't forget it next time. So it took much longer for me than other things, although botany definitely still took the longest. But in terms of the animals, birds took longer for me. But I do love them now, and bird calls are one of my favorite things. I think there are some very unusual ones. I believe we might have a bit of thunder and lightning later. So it's always something I've loved about the bush. You know, obviously I love overcast days anyway, and I love, it sounds very strange, but when there's light drizzle, I really like the light drizzle. It can become a bit unpleasant sometimes, washes your sunblock into your eyes, things like that, but pretty good predator sightings, usually. The one thing that I love about the bush is thunderstorms. Where I grew up in the Eastern Cape in a little town called Queenstown, in the summer we had thunderstorms every afternoon. That was very hot. A very similar environment here, very hot, very dry. And then the heat builds up through the day and there's this massive thunderstorm in the evening. It's just always so incredible to watch it rolling in, and it just, in the bush, you can imagine it's just amplified. It's incredible. It's bigger, it's louder, it's more beautiful with all of the scenery. Always loved a good thunderstorm. That being said, I don't particularly enjoy being out in them in an open car. But watching them from a distance, very good. So I'm kind of winding my way back towards the same drainage line again. So I've done Battle Road, I've done Yala Road. The drainage line sits in the middle. Still no elephants. Anna, that is very possibly my favorite question of the day. I have a very, very long list of animals that I want to see on other continents that we don't find in Africa. Predators in particular, I would love to see tigers in India, and I'd love to see polar bears. I think those are probably two of the top ones on my list. I think also wolves for me have always been very fascinating, so I would love to go to somewhere like Canada or Yellowstone or anywhere like that and go and have a look at some wolves in the wild. I think animals in general, you know, I've got such a long list of things that I still want to see and travel specifically to find those animals. I mean, even in Africa, you know, I've never really been north of Namibia, Botswana, so I'd love to go to East Africa, and I'd love to go to places like Uganda or Rwanda to see some of the chimpanzees and the apes. Massive one on my bucket list. But yes, I think top predators, wolves, polar bears, and tigers. Very, very good question. It's amazing, every day the bucket list just gets longer, and I just never know what's going to add to the list next, but every day I think of something else I want to do. But I think that's good. I'm young, I've got the time, I should get these things done, start ticking them off the bucket list. Right, now I'm back at the drainage line. And I think, you know, I've just decided, I think the elephants are just avoiding me today, and that's okay. Maybe I still smell like the Eastern Cape and they're not used to that. It would be quite funny if it actually worked like that. No, I think the elephants are just taking advantage. No, I think the elephants are just taking advantage of the weather and moving. And as much as I'm doing circles that are bigger than mine or round and so many birds along these drainage lines. It's actually been I don't think been a silent moment today in terms of birds. There's constantly been at least 5 or 6 species calling, no matter where I am. There's as always, this is actually quite a good spot for birding. I think I'm actually just gonna give it a second. There's some chagras in the trees here, and I just want to have a listen at this drainage line now that I've completed my loop to see if the elephants are around.
Christmas is coming. The geese are getting fat. The babies are awakening, and it's time for a fireside chat. The reindeers prepare for a global bumble. At Christmas time, they are the kings of the jungle. The chicks are all nestled and snug in their nest. Join us at the fire with a very special guest. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and join in the fun.
Wildlife trafficking remains a growing problem in South Africa, and often made worse by the way the media portray this complex issue. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, have recently embarked on a program whereby they train reporters to better tell stories of wildlife trafficking.
In my community, wildlife conservation is mostly something other people do, and I would like to change that. My name is Iman Singli. I told people I met that the pangolin is one of the most trafficked animals on the planet. But what is a pangolin, they said? Why is it in danger? This is what made me decide that the pangolin story must be told. If we are to play a part in preventing the extinction of this animal, then we must all be part of the battle.
A partnership between WWF South Africa and WESA, supported by US Aid.
This is incredible. Looks like vivid monkeys do sometimes go for swims. I heard something splash, but we couldn't see what it was in the long grass. Now I just saw that thing swimming there. This is incredible. I hope it gets to the bank. There are crocodiles in this dam. And looks like, you see that monkey climb up into the tree? Wow.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I am an outdoor photographer, a wildlife filmmaker, and a conservation storyteller. Penguin Beach is going to offer us this really unique opportunity to watch and pick up on the smallest of details in the penguins' lives. It's going to allow us the time to really get to know these penguins well, get to know their story, and get to interpret the little finer details and share that with you with a live TV show and get you to fall in love with penguins.
Thank you. We just arrived here. There's a red-crested Koran. It is really trying to make a territorial call on top of this termite mound, and the reason behind that, she lifts itself. I mean, it really helps her for a sound to travel because she's really take itself up into a termite mound where she will announce, or he will announce a territorial display or into the area for other Koran that might be in the surrounding. They have to know that she's the territorial female here. A very beautiful species. Normally we're giving a nickname. The red-crested Koran, we call it suicide bird. The reason behind that, because when she do a mating display, they really fly, it's very high, and while they're above maybe 20-30 meters, she pretends as she's going to crash down. Is where the name suicide bird come from. Look like she's gonna crash and open the wings when she listen. I have to be quiet, listen for that. Thank you. It really, that sounds, it carries on. And if it's any, whether it's any female or a male in the area that really wants to mate, it's going to respond to the word of Quran that I'm valuable, I'm in the area, is how actually communicate. If you look at different species, how they communicate, lion, they vocalize, lion, they scent mark, and the really even defecation is how actually communicate. These guys, they communicate via the sound that comes out. And another one from the distance might come in and start to respond. It will be mating time. They know how they're gonna mate. I know how they're gonna get together and mate in the area. You might find that if it happens that there's another male or female in the same area, once she's doing that calls, they'll all join together. They'll all, listen to one another and challenge one another on the area of territorial and push one another off. Whoever is strongest will push the other one off from the territory. It's an amazing species. And I would love to see one day while I'm still here to see that crashing when it really goes up and try to really land on the ground or crash on the ground easy like that way. There's another one responding. You can hear that? Sally, each and every species during mating time or mating season, they have so-called plumage that really, if they get excited for mating, at the back of that Quran, the back head up to the back, it will be really, as you do a mating display, it will be that plumage comes off and it will be red in color. That's the reason they call red-crested Quran. It's simple like that way. Only when they're mating. If they're not mating, they cannot have that. During the other seasons, they cannot really able to perform or able to give that color to the world. So it's only when they mating season. From Quran, you guys will be cutting straight to JP. He's also doing some bedding.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. At the moment, there's very little animal activity, but there's a lot of good birding going for us at the moment. And what we are doing is we are following a number of swifts and swallows as they're coming in to skim the water surface for a drink. What we also generally find on cool days like this, that insects will be actually flying much lower, and therefore the swifts and the swallows will come and feed at a much lower altitude. But when it heats up, those insects start moving higher up in altitude, and so does the swifts and swallows. So this provides us actually a perfect opportunity to follow these birds. And if you are struggling with swifts and swallows, the first thing that you want to teach yourself is to actually focus on an individual bird in a group and following them, and teach yourself to gain as much as possible detail while you're actually looking at that bird. And over a period of time, you're going to develop a sufficient amount of skill to actually separate them within a split of a second while they're on flight. But for those of you that are not familiar with the differences between swifts as well as swallows, firstly, if we look at swallows, swallows are passerine birds or songbirds, and they can perch. If we look at swifts, they cannot perch. So if you're looking at a bird that looks like a swift and is perched up on a telephone wire at this moment, it's definitely a swallow. Swifts tend to actually hang onto objects, and they actually have 4 toes pointing forward, unlike 3 toes pointing forward and 1 pointing back, which is a typical passerine configuration. We'll also see that when we look at the shape of these birds, that they actually have sickle-shaped wings when it comes to swifts, and a broad wing base with a narrow taping edge to the point of a wing with swallows. We also tend to find that swallows will actually more often beat their wings, while swifts will actually more often glide through the air. We also find that many of the swift species actually have very short tails, which actually leads to instability in flight, which enables them to deflect from one air current to the next air current. So just to share a few of the species that we see, one of the largest swift species which we have in southern Africa, that's known as an alpine swift, coming down fairly low, going to skim the surface now. Very easy, white underparts, dark upperparts with a dark band across the throat. And then we've also had barn swallows that are skimming the surface, and also house martin, which is two of the migratory species that come and visit us in our summer months in South Africa. For European viewers, they might actually be more familiar with these birds actually nesting right underneath their eaves back at home. For the first-time viewers that are curious about how these birds actually make it on a 12,000-kilometer journey, there's a number of different strategies that they will follow. Firstly, we will find that they will start migrating when the day length starts becoming shorter and there's less food availability in the northern hemisphere. We see that they will also use landscape to orientate. They will also use the Earth's magnetic field and things like polarized light. And in some species, they will even use smell to locate the final destination which they want to settle into. And that's probably more typical of bird species such as redback shrike, as well as spotted flycatcher, which is so sight faithful that they return to precisely the same spot as where they left several months ago. I was just trying to keep a chain of thought there, but if there's any other questions, I will answer them for you a little bit later.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
BirdLife South Africa, our country's only dedicated bird conservation organization. They have been very successful in a number of areas, including the conservation of more than 150,000 hectares of grasslands and estuary habitat, saving thousands of albatrosses in trawl and longline fishing, and training community bird guides as ambassadors for nature in rural areas. Celebrating their official 25th anniversary, they are sharing 25 of their top success stories across their social media platforms. BirdLife South Africa is currently striving towards the conservation of 132 bird species that are heading for extinction. If we conserve birds, we will protect other biodiversity and important habitats that provide clean water and clean air for humans. Their work is forever ongoing. People who love birds can become a member of BirdLife South Africa or make a donation towards a bird conservation project.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
The bushwalk feed allows the camera person some creative license. This is my favorite style of shooting. You have to be mentally and physically prepared. You're shooting handheld in some very strange and contorted positions, always with a straight back, often in the squat position, low to the ground. The creativity comes down to the relationship and sync you have with your presenter. The more you understand each other, the more you'll be able to tell the story seamlessly.
Right, so I towards Vuyatela Dam in the heat. Last attempt at finding elephants this morning, otherwise I'll just look for some this afternoon. And a lot of birds out, especially birds of prey, now that it's heated up substantially. There's some breaks in the clouds, so it seems like everybody's out hunting except the bigger carnivores who will be nicely rested up for the day somewhere shady. But definitely worth a try at the dam just to see if there is anything. Just on our way home. I know there's always some impalas around, which is always nice to see. Oh, the vehicle joining us. But just to kind of check and see what might be happening here. There is also a resident waterbuck that likes to hang around here at the dam. So I'm hoping that we get to see him because he's quite a large male. He's one of the prettiest males I've ever seen. In terms of waterbuck, he's very large, very wide horns. Oh, there's a hippo in the dam. Adrian, you're 10 years old and you want to know if the elephants might still be asleep. I don't think so. Maybe young elephants might be asleep, but I definitely wouldn't think that adults would be asleep. Elephants actually don't sleep altogether that much. They are actually awake for majority of the day, and so when they do rest, they rest standing up for very, very short stretches of time. And so that's kind of how it moves. And that's partly because elephants have to eat so much, so they're constantly moving and looking for food and water. But baby elephants, especially in the heat of the day, will lie on the floor underneath mom's tummy in their shadow. And so they might start going to sleep sometime soon. I think especially after a morning like we've had, youngsters will get drained of energy quite quickly, especially when it heats up. And then it becomes quite important to make sure that you rest enough that you can keep up with the herd, with the massive distances that elephants move. So there's quite a lot of new little not walkways. Why can't I find my words? Little gullies and things that have been formed. There you can see in the bank by the amount of rain that's been had recently. And that's because everything will naturally flow down towards this dam. And so anywhere that there's looser soil or where there's already been fairly constant erosion like that, it's going to wash away into those little gullies that you can see, the deeper sections. And those are actually brilliant for reptiles, but also for birds. Birds that nest in holes in particular, so things like bee-eaters would use banks. Just like that one on the sides of rivers and dams. I'm quite happy that there is a hippo here, although he's playing hard to get. He's definitely hiding. But I'm very happy about it anyway, because it's my first hippo since I've been back. Oh, he's just popped his head up. There he is. Oh wow, he's coming out. This dam's not quite big enough at the moment that he's got a pod of females with him. Definitely more of a lone territorial bull at this point. But I am actually quite envious of him at the moment. It is warm and I wouldn't mind a swim. But just absolutely wonderful. I think we've had a pretty spectacular morning. I don't think I could have asked for much of a better morning on my first morning back at Djuma. Between Ribbon and the Cubs and all of the birds and the constant bird calls and the hippo, I think it's been quite a fantastic morning. I think all round, from Brexon and JP as well, we've had a really lovely morning. But thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. I really hope that we get a beautiful thunderstorm at some point this afternoon that we can show you, but please join us again. We would absolutely love to have you with us this afternoon, and hopefully there's a lot more magic to come. Maybe I'll finally find my elephants. And I will definitely be going to check on Ribbon's cubs again. And maybe we'll even find Tlalamba's cubs. Might be a very lucky afternoon indeed.